Thank you. Folks, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yeah, welcome everyone to the April 14th meeting of the Town of Canandaigua Planning Board. Let me introduce the folks up front here. My far right is Kim Burkert, our remote facilities coordinator. Next is Jay Palermo, our alternate board member, but tonight he's active because one of our other board members, Mark Tolbert, has been excused from the meeting. Tim Schneider, board member. Amanda Van Laken, board member. Bob LaCourse, board member. I'm Chuck Euler, board chairman. Mike Murphy, code enforcement director, and that's just one of your many titles there. Sure. Eric Cooper, representing MRB, and Chris Nadler, who's our planning board attorney. We're going to follow the agenda as published. If you come to an item on the agenda that you would like to address the board, please come forward to the podium, give us your name and address, and give us your concern, comments, questions, whatever, and address those to us, please, not to an applicant or anyone sitting in the audience. And please limit your time to about 3 minutes. I see a lot of familiar faces here. I know why you're here for a particular application. We're certainly aware of a lot of the points that you brought up to us in the past. So I don't want to have you be too redundant in just going through stuff that we've already documented it and have concerns about. So that being said, I think we're ready to move on to privilege of the floor. If anybody here or out in TV land would like to address the board regarding an application or an item that's not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. If not, we're into the agenda. Right there. Excuse me. Oh, I didn't see it.
Yeah, hi.
Come on, come front, give us your name and address.
Charlie Stoyle, 3436, County Road 16.
Okay, Charlie.
What's the lowest elevation? And of course, our concerns are about runoff. And I've been out of town, New York City, for a number of months, and then down south visiting my family. So all these things might have been addressed already. But we're concerned about
Charlie, did I get your address? I'm sorry.
3436, County Road 16. Back by the stream there.
So this is for things that are not on the agenda. You're here for the Ashland Place. You're here for Ashland Place.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay, go ahead, Charlie.
So we're concerned about a couple of things. We're concerned about the water situation. What I think is going to be happening is that they're going to be building the retention pond right behind us. I haven't seen the plans, but that's what I understand.
Well, as Mr. Nadler said, is this regarding the subdivision
I'm
application?
not sure what that means.
It's the project that's going on behind the cobblestone. Is that the project you're talking about? Up off Ashland Place?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, we're gonna get to that. That's on the agenda.
I'm sorry.
That's all right, no problem. At least I knew to call on you. All righty. Anybody else want to address the board regarding an item not on the agenda? If not, let's go to the agenda. First of all, we have no legal notices that required publication regarding the application this evening. We have a continued subdivision. We have a site plan and a sketch plan to review. So with that being said, let's move to CPN 2026-018, Air Landscaping, representing a property owner at 4885 County Route 16. And the applicant would like to expand the terrace, which would require excavation and or filling of more than 5 cubic yards of material within 500 feet of Canandaigua Lake in the RLD zoning. And Mark Bayer representing the applicant. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening, everyone. How are you tonight? Mark Bayer, Principal of Bayer Landscape Architecture, and I'm here tonight with Josh Raymore, who works in the studio with me, and we are here to talk about 4885 County Road 16. It's a very minor project that we're proposing, but enough that we cross the threshold of 5 cubic yards essentially. And so the project is simply a rear terrace expansion. The owners want to basically appoint here, existing terrace on the back of the house is right here. They want to simply expand this terrace east. There's an existing wall system that's here in yellow. And this is a planted slope right here between the existing terrace and the wall. And we are proposing to raise the wall so we can level this area and expand the terrace paving about 10 to 12 feet to the east. And that's, you know, essentially what we're going to do. It's about 462 square feet of natural stone paving that would blend with what's there. The wall would be constructed with the same stone that exists on site now. And then we would be restoring, you know, the adjacent lawn areas and touching up planting after the project's complete. There are no zoning issues. There's no setback issues. There is no coverage issues. We're well under 25%. We're about 19.5% plus or minus. The parcel's large. It's 3.3 acres. And so all of the zoning compliance things, there's no issue there. We're about 80 feet back from mean high water off the lake. So visually from the lake, we're also 30 plus feet above the water. So it's not even going to be really, nobody's going to know that we've made a change essentially from the lake. It's barely visible. And as far as stormwater management, when we've done numerous projects over the years, we've got great storm drainage in place in terms of lots of green infrastructure, stone lined swales, rain gardens, all of the things that we need to manage water on the site, where we're going to have very little to no impact on stormwater whatsoever. And then, you know, we'll be supplementing with, you know, standard erosion control practices during the work. And it's very confined in terms of the existing wall that's there, kind of contains what we're doing. So I don't see any concerns as far as erosion control. That really is essentially the nature of the project, and it's really small and simple. And we needed to come in because we are going to be over the 5 cubic yards. So
That's why you're here. Okay. Any comments from the board?
All right, yes, I have a question about the existing retaining wall.
Yeah.
I didn't see any elevation drawings of the existing conditions.
Yeah.
How high is that wall from our footer now to the top of our new proposed patio gonna be? We have an elevation height on that?
Well, the existing wall is about, I think we're going to be about 6.5 feet above the patio. So at the highest point, see, there's stairs that come down here. So you're very low here. And when you're in this highest zone, will be a bit over, I think it will be a bit over 60, maybe 6.5 feet here above the lower patio, but we're only raising it 30 inches. So, and it's designed, we've gone through structural analysis and it's sound and good.
So going over that 4 foot threshold, we do have engineered drawings to back up existing conditions and proposed as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we have.
I just didn't see them in the package.
No, we've gone through complete structural analysis. James Fahey, who worked on the house with us, has also been working on this. And we've done a complete structural analysis and have confirmed that we're good structurally on all of it.
Okay. Is there any proposed fall protection on that top terrace area
They'll
leading down in the stairway, or is that just gonna be an open edge?
no, they'll have a guardrail as part of the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just didn't see this.
No, they will have that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
Other board members?
I just have one more question. I was out there today looking at it. I'm looking at your silt fence. I would just like appreciate it if you could bring it down a little bit further around,
Sure.
past to the south, that is,
So you would like to go a little bit,
down, that way.
down?
Yeah, in case anything runs off that patio that's there,
Yep.
just to catch that. And I'm right on Jay's idea too, the details on your wall, you could just include that.
Yeah, no, when we submit for those,
Yeah.
building, permitting we've done all that carefully. We are absolutely on top of that.
That's all I had.
Okay, third party reviews, we've got no comments from the county highway department. No comments from our code enforcement officer. The ZLD zoning law determination did point out there, it is in the scenic view overlay district. There are steep slopes, but not affecting the construction itself. As mentioned, there's a floodplain involved, but down by the lake. Other than, does the board have any concerns about the scenic view shed or the shoreline guidelines? I think Mr. Bear mentioned that it's far enough away from the lake that it certainly wouldn't be visible from the lake. And I'm sure, knowing Mr. Bear, that what landscaping is done will be done thoroughly and nicely. So any other concerns from the board? All right, I'll go to the audience. Anybody here or online like to address the board regarding this application? Okay, if not, I think we're ready to move forward. The seeker is at type 2. And the site plan is the standard site plan resolution with the conditions listed. Would you like to have the silt fence as an official condition?
And
So-
the detail that.
A relocation of the silt fence? And the wall detail,
Put a wall detail in.
which will be, in
In your packet.
it can be noted that it would be included in the building permit.
Oh, sure.
Do you want a fifth condition added for providing details of retaining wall?
I just state that the details for the wall will be provided with the
Yeah.
building permit.
Yeah.
So we're good with this more.
Yeah.
We'll include the cross section.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a type 2 seeker and a resolution for site plan approval with conditions. Someone want to bundle those two together?
Yeah, I'll make that bundle on CPN 2026-018 at 4885 County Road 16. For approval on the single stage site plan with now 5, is it condition? 4 condition. And the secret resolution type 2 actions with for approval.
Okay, got a motion. Give me a second.
Second.
Motion is second for the discussion. Not all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Motion carries. All right. Next item on the agenda is CPN 2025-125 for a development on County Route 16, really off of County Route 16. It's a development of 38 single-family homes, applying the conservation subdivision provisions. And Ryan, good evening.
Good evening, Ryan Destro from BME Associates here on behalf of Venezia Associates. We are here for preliminary subdivision approval for the Ashton Place South subdivision. Just to recap from our last appearance before this board, we have submitted updated copies of the overall preliminary subdivision plans as well as the project SWIP, which includes the engineer's report. We've also provided a draft copy of the conservation easement, which includes the outline of the management plan for the conservation easement areas. As a reminder, the goals of the town code for section 174-16 cluster subdivisions include, and I will quote, achieve a balance between well-designed development, meaningful open space conservation, and natural resource protection in the town of Canandaigua by requiring conservation subdivisions instead of conventional subdivision. The next goal, allow for residential development on lots that are smaller than would otherwise be permitted in the applicable zoning district in exchange for the protection of conservation assets identified in the town's inventory. The next goal, encourage the placement of lots and design of streets in a manner that results in a more efficient provision of infrastructure and delivery of public services that supports a walkable and socially cohesive community. Next one, maintain and preserve the natural, agricultural, scenic, and cultural assets identified in the town's natural resource inventory, and also advance the goals of the town's comprehensive plan. This project and this layout meets all of those town goals just specified. Yesterday, we did receive additional technical comments from the town engineer. We are confident that the remaining technical comments can be addressed, and we will work with MRB and the town staff to address them accordingly. We also received a memo dated April 9th from the town code enforcement officer. The memo was an evaluation of floodplain and stormwater impacts related to Ashton Place South. The memo finds the following, and I will quote, the proposed stormwater management system reduces the post-development peak flows for all regulated storm events, provides adequate detention storage, meets all New York State DEC stormwater management or stormwater sizing criteria, and incorporates conservation easement areas and buffers to preserve natural hydrology. This design effectively mitigates stormwater impacts and associated with the proposed development and supports project approval. I really couldn't have said it any better than that. We would like to thank the planning board and the town staff and the town engineer for all of your input throughout this project. We did incorporate your input. We revised the plans accordingly, and we remain committed to working with all of you to make this project a successful one that benefits the town of Canandaigua, while also providing a much needed shortage for single family homes in the community. So with that being said, I'm happy to answer any of your questions.
Okay. There was quite a lag period between last time you were here, Ryan, and tonight. And, you know, I assumed, and I don't know how the rest of the board assumed, that there would be quite a few revisions to the plans based on discussions that we had at previous meetings. I know, obviously, the biggest concern, probably the biggest concern that this board and I think a lot of the neighbors have is the stormwater management.
Correct.
And trying to ensure that this will not aggravate a problem that already exists out there, and certainly, if possible, maybe relieve that problem to some degree. So, again, do you want to go into a little more detail as to how you intend to do that?
Yeah, so we have heard all the comments from the neighbors from Ashton Place and the developments to the north. Their developments, while we do appreciate their concerns for drainage, their developments are located uphill and upstream of the Ashton Place South development. So therefore, the runoff from this development will be downstream and would not affect those properties to the north. As mentioned, the stormwater management design has been designed to meet all of the applicable New York State DEC stormwater management design guidelines for peak flow runoff reduction from the existing conditions to the post-development runoff condition. We've also met the town of Canandaigua stormwater management design guidelines. We've also provided additional supporting data just to show, even though while it's not required, what a 500-year storm would do and how the proposed pond could accommodate that. The stormwater analysis shows that a 500-year storm could be held and contained within the proposed stormwater management facility. It would crest the spillway, but it would still be contained within the berm, the overall berm and the limits of the stormwater management facility. So in the end, anything that's downstream of the pond that would enter into the adjacent stream and then ultimately go to Canandaigua Lake would be at a reduced peak runoff rate from the existing conditions. So it would provide a stormwater benefit to not only this project site, but also the downstream areas as well, and upstream during extreme rain events.
Okay, you said reduction in the peak level.
Yeah.
Reduction, not a, okay,
Reduction of all the storms,
it's
yes,
not a status quo, it's actual reduction.
correct. The requirement is to be at least the same, and all of the rain events we're showing that we're reducing.
I know there was some discussion about the possibility of a second basin
Mhm.
one time, depending if it was warranted, whether it be warranted now or warranted in future phases.
Yep.
And would the applicant be willing to consider the dedication or the set aside of an easement within the conservation?
Yeah, so.
If and when a secondary basin is needed?
Yes, so the answer is yes to that question. The language that we provided for the conservation easement agreement does allow for the town to have access and implement or construct an additional stormwater management facility or facilities within the conservation easement area. So it does offer the town flexibility to provide additional stormwater management areas within the conservation easement areas. It also allows for the town to, should they choose to do so, extend sanitary sewer laterals or easements or mains to extend to additional properties in the future that would extend through the conservation easement areas as well.
There have been quite a few eyes looked at this, at your SWIP. As you mentioned, the code enforcement department looked at it. MRB looked at it. The watershed council looked at it. And I guess we as a board trying to come up with what is the best solution of, and not that there's a lot of, contradiction between the reviewing agencies, but there's still some differentials. And I know Kevin's here this evening. Mr. Murphy's here also, who's the author of the report you mentioned. And certainly Eric's here to represent MRB. So I guess as a board member, to come up with the right solution as to what we really need here, I guess that's what we're wrestling with. And how does that occur? I don't want to speak for the other board members, but I speak for myself and certainly yield to anyone on the board as to their feelings.
Yeah, I have a few questions. I got to read your memo and actually saw some of the data, and I had a couple questions because some things weren't really adding up to me. I'm going to start with the CN number, which is your coefficient of runoff. This is a crucial parameter in estimating the amount of runoff from a project.
Mhm.
And according to the data that I reviewed today, you have a lower CN number in the proposed developed condition with roofs, houses, driveways, and roadways than you do in your pre-existing condition.
Mhm.
I just don't, of all my years of professional practice, I would like to know how that is so.
I don't have the exact number you're quoting in there, but the analysis is outlined within the engineer's report within the SWIP. We followed all applicable standards. It's been reviewed by the town engineer, the town staff. I don't know exactly what number you're quoting here, but
Okay, so drainage is not your area of expertise then?
it is my area of expertise.
Okay, so your coefficient, your
Yes.
runoff coefficient,
Yep.
your CN number in a proposed condition is lower than the pre-existing condition. So what you're saying is there's going to be less runoff with all of the impervious that you're putting on the property than there currently is on the undeveloped property. That's what a lower CN number means.
Well, you're also taking into a large effects of lawn areas too, which are a lower CM than some of the existing conditions on the property as well.
I think your CN numbers are too low. Time of concentration.
Mhm.
I didn't see any data that justified the times of concentration that you had in your report. So you have times of concentration that are similar in post-development as you did in pre-development. And calculating times of concentration, typically the developed condition has a lower time of concentration. These two parameters, CM number and a runoff coefficient, affect considerably your calculation of runoff.
So the time of concentration can be lengthened by way of the grading of the project. If you're flattening out slopes, there are ways to do that. And the T sub C analysis is fully provided in the SWIP in the engineer's report. We have an existing conditions analysis. We have existing conditions diagrams which show the T sub C routes, show that there could potentially be a longer T sub C through the existing or through the proposed conditions from the existing conditions.
In your existing conditions, you have overland flow.
Yes.
In your proposed conditions, you have a very short, if any, sheet flow directly to channel flow and ditches and pipes. So I just don't know how the TSC could be lengthened.
Yeah, we're also lengthening it by providing that bypass swale around the property too. So that also lengthens it from the direct route from
But that's not what
northwest.
goes, that's not the TFC that goes to your developed conditions. I'd like to talk about the bypass. So you're bypassing all upland runoff from your development.
Correct.
And your area A, which is the largest area in the pre-existing conditions, is 263 acres. In your proposed conditions, you're bypassing the runoff from 239.5 acres. That's essentially 86.4% of the runoff from that catchment area you are going to bypass. You're bypassing the stormwater management facility.
Yes, we're not required to treat or detain offsite runoff.
Is that a state requirement or is that a town requirement?
The requirement is that from your analysis point, the peak flow runoff rates under the post-development condition are at an equal or a reduced rate from the pre-development condition. Our drainage analysis shows from when you take the overall 269 acres that at the analysis point downstream where the discharge point is, that the peak flow conditions will be reduced with the proposed drainage analysis.
So the drainage pond was designed. In other words, your comparison of your inflow to the drainage pond, which only is 13.6% of the total runoff. And I couldn't find any calculations where that was identified.
Of what's going to the pond?
What's going to the
That's in HydroCAD analysis. The input data is fully in all of the data provided within the engineer's report. It includes the areas, the T sub Cs, the CNs, everything that's going to the pond and the area that's going to the pond. That is included in the data that was provided.
So the water that's going off-site,
Wait, hang on, let me interrupt real quick. Did the planning board get the engineering report? I know they got the SWIP book.
The engineer's report is in the SWIP.
Yep.
So,
We got
sorry, but
so you have a rate of flow. Well, maybe you can answer this question. So what is the rate of flow off-site from the bypass?
I don't have that number in front of me at the moment.
Okay, so I would appreciate this information, the rate of flow from the bypass. And you already have the rate of flow that's coming out of the pond.
Yes, you have an overall area of 200 something acres.
Right.
That 200 something, or the majority of it is not being detained, but
Understood.
the whole 40 acres or the 40 acre site is being detained. So even though we're adding impervious area, we're detaining it into the stormwater management facility in combination from the proposed development from just our site with the offsite runoff. When you combine them, the peak flow runoff rates downstream of the development are less than under the existing conditions.
I couldn't find that to be able to determine whether your bypass pass flow plus the flow that is coming out of your stormwater detention pond equal the pre-development rate. Do you understand my question?
Yeah.
So I'd like to have that.
We do have tables in the engineer's report that show all of the proposed conditions at the analysis point versus the existing conditions. So there are tables that show that the reduction for the overall drainage area at the analysis point in the engineer's report.
As well as what's coming out of the pond.
Correct. Yep.
You good, Tim?
Nope.
Yep.
I asked this question at the previous meeting. You've done this analysis of multiple storms. But I know that the town requirement for the stormwater collection system is for a 10-year storm. And I asked this question of you before, and you said that the stormwater collection, in other words, the pipes and catch basins, are designed for a 10-year storm.
Correct.
So I asked the question, for storms that will provide more runoff than the system has capacity to capture, where will that water flow overland? Because it won't be getting into the system.
Yep.
And I have a concern about, number one, the bypass water that's above the 10-year storm. Where will that water flow overland? And where will the water for the 50-year, the 100-year, or even the 500-year storm flow along the roadway? And at what point will that reach? Or what is the pathway in which that reaches the stormwater detention area? Because I have not been able to determine, looking at the topography, how that could happen.
So for the overall site, in the event that the storm sewer system was surcharged, the overland flow route would be following the road path. It would go down to the low point of the roadway, which is in the north eastern corner of the development, adjacent to the pond. That low point then would go between lots to the pond area and then to the stream. That is the overland flow for a 100-year storm event.
According to your profile, there is no low point in your road. The low point is on the property to the north. And you have gutters on either side of your roadway. And based on your profile, if the roadway becomes the conduit in which this overflow of water occurs, it's going to end up on Ashton Place. Or it's going to end up over the bank, over the gutter, into the stormwater pond, the existing stormwater.
Okay,
The other,
that's your conclusion? I'm sorry. Is that what you're saying? That's what will happen?
based on what I see in the profile, did you provide the overland flow elevations for these critical storms?
We can provide a diagram. That one was not included in the actual SWIP. Also, keeping in mind though that the storm sewer system is based on the rational method, short duration, high intensity storm. The 24-hour storm for the drainage analysis is based on a 24-hour rain event using TR55. So it's a longer duration. So while the storm pipes are sized for a 10-year storm, they would be able to accommodate for a larger storm than just a 10-year storm under a 24-hour rain event.
Okay. Where your pipe goes to the stormwater management facility. I don't, what the BB4, BB. DB1. You have all of the stormwater from way up on the hill coming down. And then you have, and it's in a, I think it's in a 24-inch pipe, comes into a catch basin directly opposite the stormwater pipes at the very bottom that are running in opposite directions at a 0.5% grade.
Mhm.
A 0.5% grade is basically flat.
For a 24-inch pipe, there is significant flow through a 24-inch pipe at 0.5%.
There is, but for example, a 0.5% grade is 5/8 of an inch pitch in 10 feet. One pebble and you lose your grade. But the point that I'm trying to make with this is, if you have the flow coming at a steeper gradient in a larger pipe with a larger volume, coming in directly opposite a pipe that's nearly flat, and you have this flow in the same direction, it's not going to take a right-hand turn naturally and go to the pond. It's going to have a tendency to push into the flatter pipe, or at least restrict the flow coming in the opposite direction from those flatter pipes. And those pipes, if you had any overflow, would be the ones that would prevent the water from getting over to Ashton Place, because those are the last catch basins in that line. I also noted that your dual swales on the upside of the property end at lot number 7. And it appears as though there's runoffs, there will be runoff from lots 5 through 7, and 27 and 28 that will end up in the bypass.
Yeah, so our storm drainage calcs did accommodate or did account for a certain percentage of the rear yards that were not being conveyed to the stormwater management facility in that scenario.
So again, you have an extensive bypass swale system that is proposed, and I assume that's only designed for the 10-year storm. And I think that once you get beyond the 10-year storm, or you get into extreme storms with high rainfall intensity, you're going to have a blending. You're going to have overflow, and you're going to have a blending of the runoffs. Those are assumptions.
And the reason I'm allowing this discussion to go on is because stormwater management is probably the prime concern of this whole application. So we want to make sure we get it right. Tim, we certainly appreciate what you're adding.
Just I'm not going to do your engineering for you, but you have proposed CN numbers of 69 for area A and 61 for area B. And again, based on the information in TR 55, my guess is that those numbers should be somewhere between 78 and 83. Certainly, given the soil conditions that I observed out there, I don't know whether you're using a B-type soil. Are you claiming that those are B-type soils?
We're using the official USDS web soil survey soil data.
Which is? I'm
available.
asking you what, for that area?
The majority of the site is B soils, correct?
I wouldn't agree with that. I think that we should have a discussion about whether we should have soils tested to support that. A B type of soil is a very well drained soil. And that wasn't what I've seen out there on that site.
Doesn't the county do soil surveys?
It is from the county
County
soil survey,
soil.
but it's data from the county soil survey. It's available online and it's USDS. It's available on the web soil survey, which accounted for the county soil survey data. It's all grouped together in one online format.
The other thing that I'll add for the board is that typically, if you think about this, you want rich topsoil for your lawn to grow. And rich topsoil typically has a lot of loam in it. And that means that it takes water and then acts as though it's impervious. So it's initial absorption and then it's all runoff. This is not typical of, say, New Hampshire soils where you have sand, grass grows in the sand, it rains, it's dry, or North Carolina. Typically, lawns don't take much water. They typically run off quickly. And soils around the house are typically well compacted. So I feel that the B type of soil is probably too generous in calculations for runoff. I don't think that it applies.
Tim, would it be possible for you to summarize what in layman's terms, your concerns are, where the water's going, that you don't want it to go?
The concern is that I don't believe, based on what was provided, that the calculation for the rate of runoff in the proposed condition is correct. I believe that is underestimated.
Okay.
And you also request an overland flow diagram, and you also request justification for the soil.
Yes.
All right, anybody else on the board? Again, we're sort of focused on storm sewer, which, again, I say this is probably the prime concern that this board has, and I think the neighbors have. We want to make sure if it's done right. And that's why we're spending so much time on this particular issue. As was mentioned, there were call it 3 reports or 3 analysis done regarding storm drainage in this property. One was done by Mike and his department. MRB did their review of the SWIP and the drainage calcs. And I know the Watershed Council also had their opinion regarding what could and should occur out there. So I would call on those 3 individuals if you feel comfortable in answering for MRB. Eric?
So what piece of your letter?
All right, what we got to do is somehow come to some sort of agreement as to what the conditions could or would be. And I think we have a lot of expertise in this room. And if we can come to some conclusion, at least as far as the board's concerned, and hopefully makes the neighbors comfortable, then I think we've done our job. So why don't Mike, why don't you give us a little bit the people here an overview of what your report stated?
All right. So I was requested by the Town of Canandaigua Director of Development to conduct a survey or a report, an investigation as to the impacts of Ashton Place South on associated floodplains and stream systems within the area. We did not look at other recommendations. We kept our report strictly to that. We utilized all the information from BME's engineering report as well as SWIP. All available data online, including FEMA research, research from other developments within the area, and as well as mapping done by FEMA, DEC, and other developments within the area. What we found is that within all of the information provided within the engineering report and the SWIP, we found it to be in compliance, if not greater compliance than is required underneath town code and New York State DEC regulations for SWIP post-construction stormwater management. The report further went into discussing that it would have no impact on the 100-year floodplain nor the 500-year floodplain, or better described as the 1% and 0.2% floodplains. We did do an analysis of the stream, which we found several issues with the stream, but all of which are pre-existing that do cause a substantial amount of flooding within the area. Just to highlight a few, we discovered that there are several residential properties along the stream corridor that have degraded the riparian buffer of that stream. There is encroachment of structures within that riparian buffer. The culvert system goes from a 7-foot by 6-foot concrete box culvert all the way down to as little as a dual 36-inch culvert, and then what we estimated as a single 18-inch steel culvert at the end of the system. We also found that there are several areas within the drainage pathway of that stream that are choked out, as we say, by vegetation, at which point would cause an overbank during an excessive flow event. We did recommend some enhancements, keeping in mind that we deal clearly with what is regulatory and defined by the code. But we are offering the following non-mandatory enhancements to improve system performance and administrative clarity. Acknowledging that the applicant did provide a drainage analysis for a 500-year storm, which is not required, but was requested by us as part of this study. They did provide that, but we would like to have a 500-year analysis done, flow analysis to be done on the pre-development, just so we can see the differences between the post-development and pre-development. We ask that the applicant review the ability to provide greater increase in storage capacity within the proposed wet pond, utilizing the same location orientation, but rather transforming from what's called a P2 wet detention pond to a P3 wet extension detention pond. We also ask that the applicant review the concentrated flow area of sub-area A2, on the south side of the site. Would the removal of the trees adjacent to that swale allow for the implementation of an infiltration basin to reduce concentrated discharge during higher intensity storm events while providing storage capacity during low intensity storm events? We also provide a recommendation to provide a landscape plan for the conservation areas adjacent to the stormwater management facility that would promote and advertise a healthy riparian corridor as opposed to grass. And our last one was to clarify post-construction inspection and maintenance responsibilities within the SWIP under Chapter 170 of the Town of Canandaigua Municipal Code. That is what we found during our report. Our report is extensive. I will say it's only about 14 pages of actual report, but it's 277. It is available. The 277 is because we combined all of the engineering report, the SWIP, all of the resources that we utilized for our report into exhibits. That way, if anyone did want a copy, it's a one-stop shop. All right.
Okay, thank you. That was very well done, by the way. Appreciate that. Okay, what I'm trying to do is find some commonality here between the reports. If there's agreement of what should be incorporated or included in any decision we make, let's make sure that we note that and include it. So going to MRB, how does your report compare or contrast?
It's probably a little bit different in purpose than what Mike's is. Our review generally is related to whether or not it meets the minimum requirements of the Blue Book, it relates to soil erosion, the stormwater design manual, and the site design development criteria for the Town of Canandaigua. Short of going through every comment, technically we tried to identify maybe where changes need to be made. So maybe separation distances for utilities, I know are shown on here, calculations for sediment trap. Where soil erosion measures could be modified. We do request additional information as it relates to the divergent swale and modeling for that. Additional precipitation calculations from the Community Risk and Resiliency Act. I don't necessarily want to look at every comment in the letter, things have been all others got it. We will request changes, I guess, and so that's not uncommon, of course, for our review.
So you reviewed it in to ensure compliance with town code.
Yeah.
So you're similar to what Mike concluded.
We identified areas that we believe need to be updated, changed.
Okay.
Again, we do that for every project essentially. Usually the planning board will, or often the planning board will, include the condition will be addressed. But we can't say, with these modifications, whether it will then require substantial changes to the plans. That will ultimately depend on how it changes the model, how they have to update the plans.
Okay. So between, I guess, board, as far as doing the analysis here, between these two reviews of two reports, there's some commonality, I think. I think you're hearing that. I'd now like to call on Kevin. Kevin, we got your report today, and I looked at it quickly and tried to read it once or twice. Again, you're the third party of the important group that we want to make sure is included in our deliberations, and give us your thoughts on this application.
Sure, we've been doing this for 20 plus years on a lot of, we get involved in the controversial, the bigger projects, and really try to spend our time looking at these issues. Learn from some of the past, what we'll call it, experiences that we've had over time in terms of understanding flow patterns during these higher intensity storms that we were talking about earlier. So I think it's key to think through that aspect. I thought so what I tried to do was look at Mike's report, look at MRB's report, really digest that aspect. I saw Mike's report come through yesterday morning. We downloaded that very quickly, spent some time doing that aspect. I thought he did a thorough job really reviewing, a lot of the existing issues that we see out there, and also the bottlenecks in this system. There are bottlenecks from, that small 18-inch pipe that needs to be yanked out down by the lake for that private right of way and make it an open channel. There's an RV sitting in the floodplain. There's brush, you name it, going all the way up through the system. So holistically, we do have to think about those kind of things. This report, what I tried to come up with, and then I reviewed MRB's comments also. We try to always, over the years, really work from each other and coordinate these kind of things. I really appreciated their comments 23 through 27 in their report. And their analysis that I think are substantive enough that really they need to be corrected in terms of the overall engineering report. The drainage area that needs to be analyzed is not 29 acres, it's 35. I think it's actually the full 44 acres of the entire development site needs to be analyzed because of that bypass channel, that otherwise the whole pattern that comes off this forested hillside of 44 acres comes down typically as sheet flow. It may concentrate, but you have trees down, you have resistance within the system to slow that water down in these depositional areas. The bypass channel changes that whole equation, and we've seen issues with bypass channels all over the place. So that's what concerns me about the bypass channels. Not only is there a stormwater system as it runs through the kind of the human dominated area of the road system, the houses, and can it handle getting through that aspect? But we see bypass channels, super concentrate flow increase, or actually decrease the time of concentration, increase the velocity, and most of that bypass water, and it's not, I wouldn't look at the 263 acres, I'm just looking at the 44 acres that they control. And they're bypassing the undeveloped portion, but quickening the pace and making, I think, increasing the peak flow rates that's going to discharge into the stream. I'd like to see them try to take that stormwater into account in their stormwater basin system as part of their overall measures. That was something that I
So
definitely.
Kevin, you
yeah.
agree somewhat with what Tim was saying as far as.
Yeah, but I'm not looking at the 263 acres that
No.
originates way beyond Middle Cheshire, William, and comes down
Conservation
through. Yeah, that they should not be trying to touch that or control that aspect. Actually, just side note real quick, we had a meeting with Ferris Hills and they are very interested in working with us to expand their existing basin. And to try to increase their storage capability on their lot. And we think we have funding to be able to help do that aspect of it. So some of the proactive measures that we're looking at holistically. But when I look at this, the other big piece was the impervious area, that they were showcasing needs to be upped, to a higher amount than what was in the report. And then there's other components. The other thing that I was looking at is typically when we look at these development sites, they did their existing peak flow analysis for the 2 up to the 500-year storm event. Well, not the 500-year on the existing, but they looked at the 2 to the 100 on the entire drainage area coming down, the 263 acres. What I really want to look at and what we typically are looking at is not that bigger watershed area. It's what's just coming off this site now versus what's coming off the site in the proposed condition. I think you were relaying that aspect also. Typically, we're looking at those things saying, okay, how are they handling the bypass channel? How are they handling all the impervious cover? I want to look at those apples to apples numbers and not what's it's not intentionally buried, but it's buried within the larger framework of the hydrology study that they took on in terms of the existing conditions. So I really think they got to alter that study to understand that aspect, because I think it's going to be somewhat favorable in terms of what they're going to be able to showcase, but I think you need to show that aspect. The other big thing that I see time and time again, and I think you have the discretionary authority to, and I think we really ought to make it part of the code, is the CN factor. And really it's the hydrologic soil group is the underlying feature of the CN factor. What we typically see, so if you go out there today and walk it, maybe it's a B soil, maybe it's not. Soil tests, those kind of things. But let's remember what's going to happen when they develop. Bulldozers, excavators, compactors, you name it. They're going to change the entire soil structure, and they're going to have a topsoil pile. Then they're going to put the bulldozer on it to get it spread out, to get seed growth on that environment. But that changes the entire fabric of that soil system to one that is much more compacted. I was actually in 2 meetings within the last week with MRB, and they've talked about actually changing the hydraulic soil group. When we look at these kind of things take it from a B to a C, take it from a C to a D, and looking at it that way, because that is the real life impact of the bulldozers, the excavators, and everything else on an area that hasn't been touched in many years. So that's something that I think could be required of this development. Quite honestly, it really should be required all the time on these kind of things to better that. When you change that, and that changes the CN factor, maybe from the mid 60s to the mid 70s, that will highly likely change their runoff rates 20%, 15-20%. That is more replicating real life conditions in terms of what we've seen over the years. It's those kind of things I think we really need to look at. Some of the other aspects, and I'm really glad the town asked for that 500-year storm, because that, when you look at the intensity storms, theirs is a 24-hour version of what I was asking for in terms of 3 inches in and out. But we have to make sure the underlying factors are being looked at correctly. One of the things that I was requesting, and we're going through a thorough analysis at Town of Gorham, working with MRB and Hydrus Engineering. And one of the examples we're looking at is 3 inches in and out. And the runoff depths of a lot of the sub areas that we're looking at are anywhere from 1.5 inches to 2.8 inches of runoff in that hour on the 3-inch event, not the 0.67 inches that were being indicated in their stormwater model. So I think it is very much underrepresenting the actuality of what we see, on a very smaller extent, what we saw 2 weeks ago. So those are things, and why I'm saying this is not like we're looking in this knowing we have on a holistic area perceived and real issues in this that could be impacted by this development. I think there's some areas that are just south of this development that wouldn't be impacted by this development. I think some downstream areas would be impacted, and I think there's some areas east of it that would be impacted, and potentially north. If you're putting too much water into this constrained stream system, it can stack water and back it up
to the Ashton Place undersized culvert. So there's issues that way as well. So when I'm looking at these things, and okay, let's not recreate or create the problems that we've seen in the past on this development. We've learned from some of the other developments in terms of things that we could have reviewed better, and we're trying to make sure we do that and look at all these storm events. The other big thing, that I'm looking at is those bypass channels and really trying to understand that what's coming off of that pattern. And we've seen existing issues there. The other thing, and I don't know if you can bring up the grading plan real quick, but we're real tight on, so that one's a really good one. So on this southern one right here, we got property boundary, we got this whole hillside coming down that's primarily bypassing, and that's the rule we've got in there. Is there an easement on this? Are we sure that this neighbor is not gonna fill in that bypass channel and send that water south into Mui's property and then issues down through there? That is a real tight squeeze to get a lot of water through there during a 3 inch in an hour rain event. And then we have the bypass channel that also comes around the north side, then that has to work through the development and then ultimately not go into the basin, but it goes right into the stream. So these are the things that I'm looking at when I look at this development saying, all right, how can we do this better? Hey, it would be great to get more housing for sure, but it's how we do it and where we do it and making sure we mitigate properly these kind of issues. So, that I think there is some proactive measures that could be put in partnership with them, and hopefully we can have that discussion and try to pull this whole thing together.
Well, to be honest, I thought those discussions were going to occur 3 months ago, but here we are tonight, and we're talking about the same concerns, and certainly they're viable concerns, realistic concerns. But how do we resolve them with this application? I think we're still there. Anybody else on the board have comments on the stormwater?
Mark, you made mention of a secondary pond potentially in an environmental easement. Where would that be? Is that phase 3, top of the hill? And what would that, if done in phase 1, what could that do for the overall calculations of everything we're talking about to try to get to a common ground?
The area that has been identified by Kevin on exhibits is actually the triangle area in the south central area of the project site. Another area to consider will be off site to the north too.
The phase 2 dot essentially?
Yes, yep.
And has there been any calculations to all of these questions based off that secondary retention pond to help all of this kind of go into a simpler discussion of getting us further down the road?
Full analysis of a secondary pond has not been performed to date. Questions are who would actually install it, who would maintain it. So there's some matters at hand that would need to be.
But I think our thoughts were, as long as we had the land set aside for these, it'd be designated as a potential future basin. As long as that's covered in the plan, and it's, if needed, that's essentially, I think, the way we were looking at it.
Well, let me ask, maybe I didn't understand. Is this the town might want to put a pond in there at some point to get water from the 230 some odd acres?
No.
Or is this in case the pond, the proposed stormwater pond doesn't take, or doesn't take enough, I guess you'd say, the developer will put in a second pond, which is.
No, I think it's the situation, but it would be a pond installed by the watershed, by the town, at its cost and through grant money. I think that's sort of the way we're looking at it, if needed.
In my conversations with Jim Fletcher, he's got to speak for himself. He was open to that concept from his perspective of it, just the second pond being maintained by the town. I want to hear from him. You need to hear from him officially, and we got to make sure all that is good. But that's something we were talking through, you know, not open up Pandora's box to the other pond. HOA handles that, the storm sewer system, but this pond trying to be proactive. In really reducing, the whole goal is to reduce the peak flow rates coming off of this property. And it seemed like a viable spot, and I think we got a viable spot on Ferris Hills as well to do the same thing.
I think that should be part of our consideration.
I have a question. Would it change the amount of area that's being conserved if we put a second pond there?
It would change the type of conservation. Instead of being, you know, Everwild, it would be a physical basin. And that is one trade-off, that if you go in and build another basin there, you've removed some of the overgrowth and
Chuck, if it's okay, so when we walked it, I walked it with Anthony Benenzia. It was pretty dominated by buckthorn and other invasives. So from a habitat value perspective, we're not losing a lot. And I think we could maybe build in some habitat features, vernal pool type features and other aspects within the pond environment to create habitat for amphibians and other components there. So.
Well, I was asking because
Yep.
I think there's an amount that has to be set aside for the clustering stuff.
percentage.
Yeah.
And I think that could remain in that easement open space area, so it's not subtracting from that. We're just utilizing and enhancing the value of it from a stormwater perspective.
Yeah, because the initial basin is part of the conservation calculation.
To add to some of your comments, Kevin's comments, I was out there during that storm event. And I will say that the series of ponds on the Ferris Hill property were functioning well. And
Yep.
we're not anywhere near capacity. So I was impressed with that. But the water was flowing 2 to 3 inches deep across this property. There also is a drainage swale on the south side, and I don't know whether that's actually on the property or not on the property, but it doesn't appear in the topo. There's a channel that was running pretty well.
And that's probably going right to the stream, is my.
Right to the
yeah.
street. I mean, it's almost mirroring the proposal for the bypass.
Right, yeah, that's, yeah.
And I just want to come back, and I really would like some clarification, perhaps from you, Eric, because I asked a question, and I provided you with that section. I'm supposed to section C from the stormwater management facility. Item 3, the town reserves the right to establish particular parameters. In each individual instance, the following represents basic philosophy regarding the design of stormwater management facilities. And then that was item E, all stormwater management facilities shall be designed so that the 100-year storm event is routed through the principal spillway in lieu of using all auxiliary or emergency spillways. So again, I'm trying to understand, where does the bypass?
Well, I asked our team, they felt that that was an appropriate design, calculations notwithstanding. But I also reached out to you a couple times for that citation. I didn't hear back from you. If you can send it to me, I'll bring it up to them to get a better, because I tried to find it myself after we talked about it, and I didn't, so I emailed you a couple times for it.
Okay, it's Article 5, drainage improvements. 5.0 C. Three E.
I thought I don't think it's for you.
No, okay. And Ryan, you were saying that it's in the DEC manual that allows you to bypass.
To bypass upstream runoff, yeah, because you're not required to accommodate for offsite areas into your stormwater management facility. You're only required to,
But you're altering by putting it into a ditch or a pipe,
it goes there
right, Kevin?
ultimately.
So I don't know if you want that back and forth. My only take is this system up here that is on the property and is draining down, I think we're changing the whole framework of this flow instead of it continuing through your depositional layer, slowing down and working its way ultimately to the stream. It's now hitting two bypass channels that will take that flow and very efficiently move it through the system, not go in the pond, and go right into the stream. That, in my opinion, changes the peak flow rates of the system function.
And how do you mitigate such, what are your suggestions for mitigation?
I'm suggesting that should be incorporated into the stormwater pond.
Into storm.
Yes.
Okay.
I think part of the mitigation is that there's permanent check dams in the bypass swale all the way around the north side of the development. So that will check and slow the runoff at each 2-foot interval along the way. So you're providing,
All those that were added to the plan.
what's it?
Were they recently added?
We might have added additional check dams. Check dams have been up there. We've added additional
Yeah.
ones.
In our initial letter, we called it out and they added additional ones as part of their revised plans.
Yeah, I don't know how you design or check dates, how that affects your time of concentration.
I think we're getting a little bit into the weeds here.
I guess what I would offer is that we take your comments. We adjust as necessary. We meet separately with MRB. And then, but prior to coming back to the board, we want to make sure that everybody's comfortable with the design. We don't want to jump to any quick judgments by this board. If you're not comfortable with it, we want to work with you. And we want to work with the town and MRB. So I would ask that we extend the clock and we allow us to do that and then come back when we can address these comments in further detail to address your comments.
That's fine. Again, I thought, we've done that in the last couple of months, but I guess, obviously the powers to be didn't agree on something and bring it to the board position that we can look at it and vote on it. So if that needs to be done, I certainly agree. That's what should be done, right?
I think would be appropriate, if you don't mind my asking.
I would like to go over the stuff this week and I can get back with an answer on that. No,
We just have to make a decision tonight anyways. And
Do it out for a month and
Yeah.
then you guys get a meeting in that time.
Yeah.
And I think you were also meant to include Kevin, you said work with the town, right?
Yeah.
I think
Sure.
that's important.
But before we get off of it, I don't want to move right to continuation because we do have residents here and we do have a lot of the input from them from past meetings, but I want to hear from them if there's anything additional and if there's anything non-stormwater related to this application. I think there were some concerns about the conservation subdivision analysis to make sure that all standards of the conservation subdivision have been met. I have one question, but again, you folks patiently been waiting. You've been having a class on engineering here this evening. Hope you took good notes. If you'd like to address the board regarding the application, now would be the time to do so. Again, I have comments from the residents from the past, and I think most of them, had to do with stormwater, had to do with traffic, wildlife. I think what all the construction, what was happening during the construction period. There was concern about the marketability of the homes. We've heard that and we've certainly taken it under advisement or have taken it under advisement. If you have anything else to add this evening, now would be the time to do so. Please come to the podium and I'll call on anyone unless
That gentleman was.
you like what you've heard.
Hi, this is Sal Pitty. I've got a couple of additional comments.
Okay, Sal.
Thank you. I live at 3675 Summit View. I own the property directly to the north of this, between this subdivision and Ferris Hills. There's 25 acres. I haven't heard any discussion on my proposal for verbiage added to the HOA to allow me to use my property for recreational and hunting purposes. I'd be interested in any comments on that. In addition, if there aren't going to be any additions or verbiage added to the HOA, I would like to ask that they run sewer to my property while they're running sewer throughout this subdivision, because I'll have no other option but to sell this property and have it developed in the future, unfortunately.
We did get your concern. The issue of hunting is not in our purview.
I was gonna ask if
Chris,
the applicant has a position on Mr. Pitty's request. You could also respond in writing. Whichever you prefer.
Yeah, just at this point, we provided language in the proposed conservation easement agreement draft version of it that would allow for the town to extend sewers should they choose to do so in the future.
Yeah, I spoke to Jack Brown from the sewer department. He was going to ask that it was included in the subdivision approval.
I don't believe we saw that in his comments, but we certainly, it's duly noted. That would mean that then that area, your property, would be riper for development with the sewer. I don't know if that's something this board or the town board would be looking at, but anyway,
Is there an easement being provided to the property to the south?
No.
Maybe. Well, I saw no.
but we'll certainly listen to anything that the county has. I know they were against the sewering of the properties up on Middle Cheshire between Fox Ridge and Middle Cheshire. They actually didn't really want to extend the sewer in that area back when the Fox Ridge extension was done. So whether they'd be interested in extending it onto your property, toward your property, we'd like to hear from them.
I'll reach out to him again tomorrow and ask him to send you an email or something.
Okay. Anything else, Sal?
No, I guess not.
Okay, sir? Would you like to address the board?
Kim, in the interim, can you mute everyone online and they can raise their hand to address the board?
Bill Foose, 3420
Yeah,
County
how are
Road
you this
16. I want to thank Tim for being pretty thorough. And Rocco's been up in there, Butch Hagen and stuff in there. Just a little bit he's done in there. There's a lot more water coming down into the stream right behind our house. And the stream is just tearing everything up. And back 2 weeks ago, it was all back right up into us. And I want, like this right here. I believe this is ours right here. Where is this house here? Is there gonna be a berm along that stream? Or is it all gonna be open? Behind.
Brian, do you want to answer the question?
Let's do questions. Why don't we give them the opportunity to answer questions
Okay.
at the end so that we don't get
Sure.
into a.
Because if that water's gonna be coming down that road, where's it gonna go here? Right into there. It's not gonna get to that pond. That's my thought. I'm just wondering.
Good point, good point.
We're losing a lot of, that stream is just tearing everything up. Well, cleans that stream.
Now's a good time to put on the record that that stream needs a lot of housekeeping. And when it comes to cleaning out and removing debris, it's on the property owners to do that.
Well, I've kept mine clean.
Okay, good for you.
South of there, it's full. Okay, no, that is causing the back.
As part of this subdivision, that property line will be established along there. And where the stream.
The stream is
encroaches
on the outside of my property.
Okay, we'll find that out when we survey it.
Okay.
So where it's on the applicant's property, it'll be up to him to clean it out. Where it's on the properties of County Route 16, it'll be up to those respective property. Okay, to clean it. Because that is a big reason for the problems you have out there. Yeah. Understand. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Hey, Charlie, yeah, we didn't forget you.
So we just, at the bottom of the stream where it goes into the lake. And the last major storm we had overflowed the road.
So you're on the lake side of County Route 16?
No, we're, that would be Jeannie Randall.
You're 3436.
3436.
3436.
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Oh,
Okay.
you're right at the bend.
Yeah, right at the bend, and property, there's a property that goes to the stream behind us is not our property. Our property ends where there's a little outbuilding there. I don't know what property is coming down into those, under the street there, whose property that is. But we've been there 35, 36 years now, and the bank of the stream has eroded back almost 3 feet, right to the telephone poles. The only thing holding the telephone poles up right now is we have a well-established wisteria with vines that thick. I mean, we used to be able to walk around easily around the telephone pole. That's not the case anymore. So I'm concerned about the erosion. I don't know what, how much that's going to continue. When we had that major storm last year, it backed up from the stream into our basement through the pipe that comes from our basement out to the stream. Mud everywhere. So our concern is, main concern is the stream. It's really caused a lot of, we put well over $30,000 of drainage systems in there, which seems to protect the property just north of us. When the house was built next to us, all the entire roof runs down is drained into our property, which caused us to put a lot of major drainage systems in. So my concern that is like the rest of people along north of me, but I think we get the most of it. I mean, it backs up right into the basement. We've had to redo the whole basement, and we have the garage, and then we have the living section, and the garage was just mud. So that's our concern. The other minor concern, I guess, is property value, how this is going to affect our property, especially concerning, I don't know who has to clean up the stream coming down, going underneath the street. I don't know whose property that's on.
Well, as I said, okay, well, whoever's property it's on, it's their responsibility.
Yeah, I don't know if it's ours or next door, or I don't know.
Whoever's on your property, it's up to you to maintain it.
Yeah, we pulled out branches, but I mean, this last storm, we've had.
Well, and the other problem, Charlie, was mentioned in Mike's report, the two 36-inch pipes that go under County Route 16, woefully undersized. So they
there used to be a large pipe you could walk through. Then they said it was going to be better if they put this 2 smaller pipes in.
Didn't work.
Didn't work.
Well, I know Kevin's been talking to the county. And I know the county has a capital program to replace some of the culverts underneath County Route 16. They've done some further south, and that hopefully that the ones in front of your place can be part of that program.
Yeah, it didn't do any physical damage to the house like it did south of us on some houses, but it did get a lot of mud.
All right. Well, thank you for your input.
Okay. What might this do to our property value? You have any ideas yet?
Not an appraiser. I can't say.
Okay, I gotta say one thing too. I've got a new appreciation for you guys, listening to you all the time. Tim, you would every detail. I appreciate that. I really feel that you're trying to protect us.
I'm a retired licensed professional engineer.
Oh, okay,
So I did this professionally,
uh-huh. Okay,
both in a design role and also as a regulator.
oh, okay, well, I got a new appreciation for it, Mike. I've talked to you a little bit, but I've got a new appreciation for what all you guys do. Thank you for that.
Okay, Charlie, we've got to move on. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else from the audience? Jack? The mayor?
Okay, yeah.
The mayor of Ashton Place?
I don't think so. You have my comment, my comments from last time we met.
Your comments, we got your pictures, yep.
Yeah. And to keep you up to date. I have some more pictures from last week. A lot of them are on the upper side of Bedford Drive. You'll see that the
The
water.
north side, the north side of Bedford? You said upper side, so I just.
West,
Oh, the west side.
the west side,
Okay.
and some of us.
Bubble. Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, sure.
Hey, that's great.
Okay, Jack, if you want to explain what you're handing out, you have 3 minutes to do so. Pardon? I said, if you want to explain what you handed out, you have 3 minutes to do so.
Well, this is sort of like an addition to my letter that I wrote in November.
Mhm.
And I'll try to, in addition, that I haven't seen anything as far as sidewalks on a sloping grade of 10 or 15%. I don't know how they're gonna do that for 38 homes. It's interesting, but I don't know how they're gonna do that. The letter from BME Group back in April, 29 of 2025 said there were slopes of greater than 15%. Are school children gonna walk these streets and, then on Ashton Place doesn't have any sidewalks either. And so they are asking that with increased traffic, we're gonna have kids walking in the street. I don't know if this is, the kind of design you really want. Fire codes, that they're gonna have to have, you can't have more steep slopes, more than 10% grades for fire apparatus. That's just a standard thing in New York State. One of the other problems is that on dead end streets, you can't have more than 20 or 30 homes because of access, unless there is another access. Well, this property is totally enclosed by either conservative or conservation land or by surrounding property. So that's kind of like out the window. As far as existing water lines being tapped, if you're gonna require automatic sprinklers, you gotta have the water pressure. And Ashton and both the proposed development are all uphill. So you have to have extra water pressure. I don't know if you can tap into existing lines doing that. The sewer lines were designed back in '88 for 24 homes. For 24 homes, yeah, you can have maybe 6 to 8 inch diameter main. But for 62 homes, you got to have a minimum of 8 inch main. That means you can't use the existing sewer lines, even though the applicant is saying different. And the other problem is that you have a negative slope from Westlake Road down Ashton before you turn the corner and go up Bedford. That another slope has to take into consideration on a sewer line. The riparian water rights is that nobody has a right to change that. Water, and you can see in the pictures, the water is coming around and most of it is not getting into the retention pond that was designed for Ashton and Bedford. It's just going down the hill and going in people's backyards or what have you.
And Jack, I see number 8, and certainly we got the Watershed Council and Association thoroughly involved in this project, so
Yeah.
I appreciate that. And I'm just reading your conclusion, and
From what I've seen in some of the pictures, they had just have a F sucker.
Yep.
If,
I'll give you an extra minute.
because of the slope of this land and the slope of Bedford Drive, et cetera. I see a lot of water coming from behind Ferris Hills,
Yep.
coming from over in here.
Yep.
And if there was a retention pond up in here, suitable to catch it before it got down into the danger zone. You kind of will, okay, so if you had some sort of retention pond up in there, that would put less pressure on what is down here downhill and put less pressure on what you're trying to avoid on Westlake Road. Which is backyards, and it's gonna get worse. You can see on some of the backyard pictures that the water is coming through the woods into the creek with white foam. It's all brown water.
Thank you. Yeah, that water's been coming down into the bubble in Bedford for as long as I've been here, so yeah, that is a problem, that about it, but it's north of the project. I don't know if we want to divert water from that area onto this land. That's, I think you're just maybe adding.
In my 2 cents, there should have been before Ferris Hills was allowed their addition. For more roof area, they should have had a third pond because there's water back in here that builds up and there's water behind Lyons on Union Street. There's water behind Lyons in here.
Okay.
Every so often, it's not a 5 or 10 year or 50 year. It's every 2 or 3 years they get another cellar full coming out of the fence.
Okay, very good. Thank you for your input and your pictures. And we'll put those on the record. Anybody else?
My name is Richard Corbett, referred to as the Grouchy Old Man. I live at 4855 Ashton Place, and this gentleman, he knows like 1,000 times more about this than I do, but I want to explain something in the big storm. Retention pond's right behind my house. Performed magnificent, didn't overflow because the amount of water was reduced by the pipe coming in. You looked up the street and the storm sewers were gushing. So that retention pond would have been 5 times larger. It would have had no effect on that storm. Secondly, there is a shortage of housing all over the country, but it's entry to mid-levels. In our market, that would be 250 to 400,000. The sweet spot's 500 to 750. Because of the cost of improved lots, these are going to be 500 and up. So it's not going to add to this issue we have. Behind Morel's apartments there's a short strip of land. The guy's in there for like $415 a lot. He can do that because it's an empty piece of land. It's not worth that much. And he connects right to the sewers and so forth. But that's the kind of projects we need. That's it.
All right, very good. Thanks. Thanks, Richard. Anybody else? Well, yeah, hopefully you realize all the board members have spent a lot of time on this application and it certainly justifies that time being spent. And let's see if there's anything else we want to bring to Ryan's attention so that he can consider that in the next month. You know, Ryan, that lot 17 and 18. That's a tough get. I think you have a requirement in our code that the setback, limit setback be 40 feet. I think you're showing 15 currently, which is your standard rear yard setback.
We're showing 40 foot in all areas that are adjacent to residential properties per the code requirement. There's no residential properties adjacent to 17 and 18. That's why there's no strip there.
No, you're adjacent to the SCR one. And if you're adjacent to a district that you're changing it from, and you're changing this from SCR one to a conservation subdivision, that the Maley property is still SCR one, and therefore I think we would require 40-foot setback. And if you take those two lots out, it contributes to some of the concerns that were brought up by some of the reviewing agencies regarding a contiguous conservation easement around the properties. It may take care of some of the drainage issue concerns that Kevin mentioned tonight regarding trying to squeeze runoff coming from the west around the back of those homes. And it really doesn't give the homes much of a backyard, even as shown. So I would seriously consider reduction of lots 17 and 18. Board have anything else?
One more question. I've only asked one. What is your plan during phasing? Out of control runoff up the hill, if you're gonna start at the bottom? How are you gonna control all that around your build?
You would have a diversion swale at the
You're gonna show that in your
hillside
plan?
of each phase, and that would be shown on the final phase plans for 1, 2, and 3. For 1 and 2.
Cause that would be a mess. And your retention pond would be built first, I would imagine?
Correct.
Oh, one more thing. I just looked at Encore. What is your plan to do with that property that goes to County Road 16? Cause that's part of this parcel.
Yeah. There's a plan to, what's the term? Convey it to the adjacent parcel that's on County Road 16.
The cottage there or?
Yeah.
Well, my really question was is. Could they convey that current pond that's there now? Cause that's the cottage land.
No, it's not the cottage property. It's in.
No, I understand. No, the cottage owns that pond though.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you were to take over that property. And you're saying doing a lot line adjustment on the other one to County Road 16. Then you'd be controlling all the water.
Well, I mean, that they would have to agree to that.
I know,
That's outside of the scope of the project, but just to answer, this would be donated or conveyed. This would be conveyed to this parcel.
Oh, that part.
Well, that's shown on the subdivision sheet. Called out, and I had a potential condition if it goes through the lot line just.
Who's responsible for the maintenance of that other stormwater management facility?
The town.
Ashton Place, current town of Canada.
Even though it's on someone else's property.
There's an easement.
There's an easement.
Yeah, there's needs work. I walked around it.
Yeah, and the easement actually extends onto this parcel as well. It extends west from the pond.
So Ryan, last thing I want to ask is, what waivers are you requesting? I noticed there's the 40% from class 3.
That's it.
Constrained lands, that's it?
Yep.
Okay. Was a formal waiver request?
I had asked for that previously, but I just was able to receive it. I think it was buried in the town website. And I think it was kind enough to find it for me.
So it's not on the workspace, so has it been executed?
I just got it emailed to me right
Okay.
before the meeting.
Well, that can be.
But I did note it in the letter of intent.
Okay.
Saying the conservation easement analysis. But as noted, the trees are not what you would consider.
Yeah, ash and walnut.
Right.
Black.
Yeah.
Pretty junky. And you had to be 40%, and I think you were 36.9, I think was your class 3.
Yeah, we were close, yeah.
Okay.
And then, yes, and then the other portion of that was the land visible from the lake, and we provided an exhibit that shows.
Okay, and you redid part 1 of the seeker at the request of, I think, the concerns that LRB had.
What we started.
Yep.
And what MRB has done a part 2 and part 3. So make sure you look at that for the next meeting. And anything else, or did you want to see, other than please take in consideration what Tim requested this evening. You had mentioned about a powwow with the powers to be regarding the stormwater. So that will occur the next month. And I think you're looking for a month extension or granting us a month extension.
Yes.
For continuation.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be our first meeting in May.
May 12th.
May 12th?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on?
Oh, no, I was just saying, Amanda, I'm ready to.
She's
I
ready
was
to move?
I was gonna confirm if we're meeting on May 12th, when would we need any revised materials by?
2 weeks prior to the meeting.
2 weeks prior. That is,
We're good. 2 weeks prior, normally we do one, but just give time to review.
2 weeks in this case because of complexity.
so by 2 weeks from today
Is that enough time?
would be the deadline.
Or do you want the second
Or
meeting?
do you want the second?
If we could have the second meeting just to be safe,
I would say.
Okay.
I would like to meet with.
So it'd be May 26th.
26.
So then we would need by material by May 12th.
So that's 12th.
Or sooner would be better.
Okay. Okay, I have the motion to continue this application to the 26th of May.
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the accompanying application is still hanging out there, but I think the applicant has agreed to continue the phase 1 final. Because we obviously have to get the preliminary tie down before we even think about the final. So that'll continue to at least the 26th. Okay.
Do we need it?
Agreed. So I'll make a motion that we continue the CPN 25-126 regarding the phase 1 final to the 26th of May. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thanks, folks.
Well, you all.
You're welcome to say. I mean, we're going to move on to the next. Declare to everyone what we're doing. Okay. We're going to.
When will the additional plans be submitted so that we can look at?
May 12th. May 12th.
May 12th is there, okay.
That'd be 2 weeks before the next meeting that we discuss this application. Okay, moving on, CPN 2026-023. This is a sketch plan review as part of a rezoning request from an applicant to rezone 75 acres of existing.
Well, if you could, do talking outside in the hallway so that we can.
I'll wait till you leave.
Outside.
Thanks, Kevin.
Have a good night. See you, bud. See you.
Okay. Didn't scare everybody off. Huh? That's good. Thanks for staying. All right, CPN 26-023 is, as I said, a sketch plan review, which is part of a rezoning request from an applicant to rezone 75 acres of land currently off of 332 up in the area of Purdy Road and between Purdy Road and Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road. It's currently zoned AR2 CC commercial district and an R120 And they would all be put together and rezoned as a PUD, a planned unit development, and 226 rental townhomes, 9 for sale single-family homes, and 6 commercial lots. And we are here this evening to hear the application and make a recommendation to the town board.
Good evening, once again, Ryan Destro from BME Associates. I'm here with the applicant, Sarah Janeco, representing Leo Janeco and Sons Incorporated. We are here, as mentioned, to review the proposed Diamond Acres PUD development sketch plan. We did appear before the town board a few weeks ago to introduce the project to them as well. As noted, this proposal is for the rezoning of 75 plus or minus 75 acres. It's on the west side of New York State Route 332 to the south of Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road at the northern limits and to the north of Purdy Road at the southern limits. And it is proposed to be rezoned to Planned Unit Development District PUD. The subject parcels are located within the town of Canandaigua's mixed use overlay district number 2 as well. The proposed PUD represents a mixed use development containing the following residential and commercial uses. Chuck, we touched on them already. For the multifamily residential component, as noted, 226 residential townhome rental units and 30 buildings are proposed. For the single family residential component, 9 for sale single family lots are proposed. And then there are 6 commercial lots, all with access to New York State Route 332. Lot 1 containing the existing Janeco's Farm Market. Lots 2, 3, and 4 are all proposed commercial lots to be determined for their users. For lot 5, that contains 259 proposed mini storage units and 7 mini storage buildings. And lot 6 contains the existing Janeco produce structures that's located at the southern end of the commercial corridor on 332 in that large gray rectangular building. The proposed allowable commercial uses are intended to be consistent with those specified within the PUD regulations of the town code. Under Article 5, Section 220-28, access to the residential portion of the project will be via a new public road connection, which connects Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road to Purdy Road at the southern end. Private roads will also be extended to serve the multifamily residential uses off the main public right-of-way, which bisects the site from the property from north to south. Mobile Road is proposed to be dedicated to the town as part of this project and to provide a third access point via the existing connection it has to New York State Route 332. The commercial components of the development will be accessed, as mentioned, from New York State Route 332. The proposed single-family residential lots are located at the southern end of the proposed PUD, and this is to be adjacent to the existing single-family residential lots, which have frontage on both Mobile and Purdy roads. This allows for a transition from single-family lots to the proposed multifamily residential component of the PUD development from south to north on the property. The multifamily residential townhome structures extend to Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road at the north end. This mirrors the existing Stonehenge Village townhouses community on the north side of the road. Some resident amenities that are proposed with this PUD development include a community clubhouse, guest parking spaces, street trees, street lights, cluster mailbox locations, open space areas for both active and passive recreational opportunities. Public concrete sidewalk is proposed along the public road connecting Town Line Road to Purdy Road. And a public stone dust trail connecting Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road to Purdy Road is also proposed through this development. Per Town Code Section 220-28A1, under the Planned Unit Development District legislative intent, I'll quote the code: "The intent of this planned unit development PUD provision is to encourage a greater degree of flexibility for development and to provide a variety of residential and non-residential activities in a planned and controlled environment in a manner blending all land uses into a functionally and aesthetically complementary whole within the framework of the comprehensive plan. A planned unit development proposal may contain both individual building sites and common property, which are proposed for development as an integrated land use unit. A mix of light manufacturing / research development and commercial uses may also be included to provide employment opportunities and enhancements to the tax base. Retail and service uses may be included to provide for shopping needs, and this development provides exactly that. Next, per town code section 220-28B2, under the general requirements for a planned unit district, the minimum area required to qualify for a planned unit development district shall be 100 acres contiguously, but where the applicant can demonstrate that the characteristics of the subject property will meet the objectives of this section, the town board may approve projects with less acreage. As noted, this property has 75 acres. The proposed PUD development meets the legislative intent of the town code, as it does provide proposes a variety of both residential and non-residential uses on the development. However, since the overall area of the proposed PUD is less than 100 acres in total, we will be requesting a waiver from the town board per section 220-28B2 of the town code. The proposed PUD development meets several goals and recommendations, which are identified in both the Town of Canandaigua's comprehensive plan and the State Route 332 and Route 96 sub-area studies. It provides community neighborhood, which consists of a mixture of residential options, including for sale single-family lots, and various options for rent townhome units, which will provide opportunities for people of all ages, abilities, family sizes, and income levels in the town. The residents will also have access to the commercial components of the development and adjoining properties, including the existing Geneco's Farm Market at the north end, along with Ace Hardware, Flowers by Stella, and the new commercial sites along New York State Route 332 with the users to be determined. The PUD creates a new public roadway connecting Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road to Purdy Road. The new public roadway provides an alternate north-south route on a town roadway rather than the state highway for pedestrians, bicyclists, and vehicular traffic. A public concrete sidewalk system for pedestrians is proposed within the public right-of-way, as New York State Route 332 currently does not have a sidewalk or path option for pedestrian mobility and connectivity in the vicinity of the proposed PUD development. Public stone dust trail extension of the Auburn Trail Network is also proposed to connect Town Line Road to Purdy Road per the town goal and recommendations. Now, it is important to note that in 2024, following coordination with the applicant, the town of Canandaigua installed a 16-inch diameter transmission water main through the property. And this was part of the town's Brickyard Road Tank and Transmission Project. The Brickyard Road Tank and Transmission Main project was identified as a goal in the 2017 Water Master Plan for the town of Canandaigua. And in 2023, MRB, acting as the town of Canandaigua engineer, prepared contract drawings for Purdy Road, for the Purdy Road extension through the property. And that is in the alignment of the proposed north-south roadway that we're showing. That those contract drawings identified the route for the proposed public roadway through the property, as mentioned, and they would be parallel to the existing transmission water main and connect Purdy Road to Farmington Town Line Road. Now, while the town ultimately did not install the public roadway intended for the property at that time, the proposed PUD, this development serves as a vessel or a vehicle or a way for the roadway to be completed on this property. as part of the infrastructure improvements supported by the overall PUD development. Utilities for the property would include public water and public storm and sanitary sewers to serve the development. Stormwater management will be provided on site to meet all of the New York State DEC and Town of Canandaigua stormwater management design guidelines. In conclusion, we do feel that the proposed PUD zoning for Diamond Acres meets the town goals and recommendations for the development of the property and will serve as a positive addition to the town of Canandaigua. Tonight, we're seeking input from the planning board on the proposed sketch plan and support from the board to continue with the PUD application process. So with that, I'll open it to the board for comments.
All right, board, it's clear that we're looking at the appropriateness of applying PUD to the site. The sketch plan is certainly helpful in part of our determination, although with most sketch plans and as applies to this sketch plan, we are not obligated to anything shown in this plan regarding the layout and configuration of the lots. So that would all come in the future should you be successful getting the rezoning as part of your subdivision site plan process. So that being said, how do you feel, board, about this property being rezoned as a PUD?
First question, Chuck, is southwest corner of the property where it's labeled wetlands in the overlay. There's a pretty substantial amount of construction in that area, and understanding what those wetlands are going to contribute to or what they're going to convert to or how many acres it is out of the 75. Is that in play with the waiver of asking for a 25-acre waiver on the 100 acres? How much of that wetland is considered in that area?
So the town code is different here than it is for a conservation subdivision like our previous the previous application. Here there isn't a removal of constrained lands like wetlands. So the total required is 100. Theoretically, it could all be wetlands, or it could all be, something else.
So converting that into buildable, that'll be part of site plan approval and their actual proposal of this development going forward. So in that wetland area now, it's just shown as wetland with buildings going through it, but during further processes, we'll understand their intent on how they're gonna convert that from wetland to buildable land.
What are you referring to as like the wetlands going, or the buildings going through the wetlands?
So-
Your sketch plan shows the wetlands to the edge.
Yes.
Right, and I know the exhibit that I provided, the figure I provided with the overlay and the wetland mapping that we did. MRV and
Unless my shadow lines are just different, on your report on page.
Right, yeah, okay. On mine.
On page 2.
Yeah.
That lower left hand corner.
Do you see my lens?
It wasn't.
Yeah, okay, so I just wanted to be clear that you weren't calling out that his plans showed development in the wetlands on the sketch plan. That was my comment in response from a wetland mapping we did years ago, overlaid on top of their proposed development to suggest that there might be wetlands within what they're proposing that they should actually have.
So,
further use.
and I can expand upon that too. BME did go out and delineate the wetlands last fall. We have submitted a wetland report to the DEC and Army Corps of Engineers. There are no DEC or wetlands that would qualify as DEC wetlands on this development. The wetlands that we delineate are the limits that we're showing on the property now. The Army Corps will come out hopefully this spring, early summertime to confirm our limits. Obviously, we will adhere to any standards, whether the wetlands need to be mitigated or we need to stay away from them. Some we feel are isolated in the central portion of the property that don't have any connections to other waterways that would qualify them as being isolated. They could go away eventually and be non-jurisdictional for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. that will all be worked out later this year.
But if they, in the event, worst case scenario, that they're not.
Yep.
And they have to be preserved, how much of the 75 acres comes off of the project?
It's hard to say, to give an exact number. If, what, I will be uploading. Huh?
Hang on, so there's not a constrained land removal. We don't take the wetlands out of the total acreage.
We just have to avoid them if necessary.
I mean, I guess it reduces their amount of buildable space,
Right.
but that's not the same calculation as in the conservation subdivision where they
No, I
constrained lands have to
understood
come.
that. I was just trying to understand,
buildable.
you know, the zoning code has a minimum requirement of 100 acres. Yeah. You're asking for 75. You're presenting, you know, good reasons for doing this, but that's fully developing. But if we're not developing 75, we're developing 50. Doesn't still have all of those benefits.
I would say it's less than 10%. I don't have the exact number. It's probably closer to 5 or something. If I were to guess.
But related to that, another NRI feature in that corner is the swamp maple. Have you considered that at all? In terms of either mitigation or avoidance?
Yeah, the development has been designed to try and minimize disturbance to the southwestern corner of that property, which includes the wetland and swamp. What do you call it?
Silver maple ash
Still-
swamp.
Okay, silver maple. Yeah,
Ash swamp.
ash swamp.
Swamp maple.
I don't know.
But it is a NRI feature you have
Yep.
to be concerned about. Ward?
Oh, my comments were, I read the PUD code. And what they're proposing seems like it fits the code with town approval. Definitely we'll have discussion when you come back, if approved. I saw a few things that I would say differently on that plan, but
Yeah, this is a starting point, and we're here for your input, so we can go from there.
Yeah, I think
initially it's not a
Yeah.
PUD.
we have to be assured that it meets the comprehensive plan. And, you know, looking at that, even though we don't have future land use map that we have in the town, I think in that board meeting we had last year, that this area was sort of designated as a development area, and
If it's already designated the MUO overlay, even though that's not the process they're going through.
It is
town
within
board
the
has
MUO.
Designated that it's a growth node in town, and certainly it's not reflected in my letter. But as the person who wrote the comprehensive plan, it was intended, right, that there would be development in this area.
It's a first road.
Is that Pretty Road entrance that has been coming north there, is that part of that existing parcel, or is that owned by the applicant as well?
That is owned by the applicant, yes.
So it'd be kind of combined as, so.
Oh, speaking of ownership, can you guys go in and upload in the cloud permit application authorization from each parcel owner? I think some of them are different. Just as a procedural matter before we get too far into this.
Sure.
so related to the applicability to the comprehensive plan, we certainly want to make sure that the property is walkable, that the design is of the streets are in accordance with the complete streets. Which I think for the most part it does, although I think along the frontage of 332, there were some comments about the possibility of if and when those sites are developed, that sidewalks be installed. And that might be a recommendation that we would have. As well as up on Canandaigua Farmington Town Line, that would be something that would be part of the residential development. Would be the extension of sidewalks.
And you
I
have
would
the
say-
sidewalks down through the spine road.
And I would say throughout the entire concept, they should have complete streets.
Oh, yeah.
With sidewalks, they're not showing sidewalks throughout the whole thing.
Are the side roads intended to be dedicated? or-
No, they're intended to be, or they're proposed to be private at this point.
Right. But I think we do have a private street design, complete street design in our site design criteria.
I think we owe it to some tenants to give sidewalks for people to walk
Mm-hmm.
around safely, not on their street.
Yeah.
Well, walkability, I think, again, for our report to the board, I think we want to make sure that it's just stressed that, you know, walkability is a concern and something that we've factored.
Yeah,
in.
and we're certainly trying to accommodate that with the sidewalk along the main road, but then also the extension of the Auburn Trail through the property as well.
Yeah, how does your connection with the Auburn Trail work? I know you've got the Auburn Trail down on Brickyard. I assume it's up off, you want to show us how it flows through your project?
Granted, this is just the first blush at the pathway, but it basically follow this path behind the units and then around and then through the.
Ah, okay, all right. Okay.
Question about drainage.
Mhm.
Is there sufficient pitch without relying on 0.5% grades to move water to a stormwater management facility? Number one. Number two, if you got wetlands, you may have groundwater issue. So that, you know, again, along those same lines, your planned and designed stormwater management facilities have enough freeboard above groundwater level so it can store water.
Yep, so that will all be worked out as we progress through this process.
Understood.
Yep. But I do note that, so.
Brian, you proposed the mini warehouses. Not sure if that's one of the acceptable uses in the PUD. Unless you can somehow interpret one of the uses to apply, but that could be a concern as far as whether that would be. Look,
There is. I believe there's the exception of, it's not explicitly listed as a permitted use. That there is the line that, or similar to the allowable uses.
Public use.
Yeah.
Common public.
public use
Yeah.
would be, you know, dedicated public use, yeah.
I mean, with all the, you get apartments, right, and townhouses, limited storage, I would consider it certainly a compatible use.
Yeah, I would think usually they like to put mini storage close to townhouses where you have limited storage. Probably half the customers for the mini storage would be the townhouse. How about marketability? Has the applicant determined that 260 some rental townhouses would be marketable? In terms of, is there a demand?
So I was the engineer on the Hathaway's Corners project, just north of this project on 332. All of the rental units are off the shelf immediately. So rental units in Canandaigua and Farmington are hard to come by, as well as in Ontario County, Monroe County. So there is a definite housing shortage in Ontario County and in New York State in general. This will help alleviate some of that. Obviously not all of it, but it will provide options for either kids to remain in Canandaigua, or empty nesters to sell their existing home, move into a different unit. So it offers options for a multitude of people to either stay within the limits of Canandaigua where they grew up, or people who want to come and enter into the community from outside. So.
Well, okay, so you've done your research.
Has there been any preliminary conversations with NYSEG or RG about our power shortages that we know about?
Yeah, so the project has been introduced to NYSEG and RG&E. they're bound by their agreement to provide service. It's just how much it costs, but then they're also working through some other grants and stuff to provide energy to the area as well. So that is not finalized yet, but they have been made aware of the project and we'll be working through that as we progress through this application.
Any idea how long for a full build out?
10 years or, I mean, it would be 3 to 4 phases, I would say, for this development with the residential component of it, at least. So it's hard to say. I mean, it's obviously based on demand at the time, pricing, the way the economy is going, but the intent is 3 to 4 phases at this time.
We've done 2 similar projects in Penn Yan. Fuqua Shores, I encourage you to check out their website. And we did that in 2 phases, and we have another one down the street from there that we're doing as well. That's in its 2nd stage of completion, and we have them all rented in full. There's a high demand for this type of project.
Good. What's the other project name? Or you said there's one down there?
It's all Fuqua Shores.
It's all.
Yeah.
You show some streams A, B, and C.
Yeah, so that's included
Who
on
and
our
what are they?
wetland report that was submitted to the Army Corps of Engineers. We'll upload that to the cloud tomorrow. That will elaborate more on them. A lot of them, we believe, are going to be isolated areas. So that will be worked out as the site plan design advances, whether we have to avoid them or mitigate the crossings, stuff like that. That will be worked out.
We finally get Mobile Road dedicated and improved.
You know, I've been trying.
In the house.
When's the house gonna move? Your lawn ornament. And we approved that, right? We approved the lot.
Not to focus too much on the sketch plan itself, but the intersection with Mobile and the Spine Road, that worked out well. I think there was a concern of how we were gonna do that tie-in, but I think you get adequate sight distance and it's a 4-way intersection, so it laid itself out well. Seeker, will this be a type 1 problem?
Yeah.
I'm sure it will. Okay. So we're into the full boat traffic study. Are you working on a traffic study, Ryan?
Not yet, but that will be on the agenda.
We will mention that. Plan components. Trail.
For the proposed commercial lot 2, 3, and 4, is that gonna be accessed through a back road or is that gonna be accessed through 332?
The intent we're showing now is through a back road, so we would consolidate access points to 332. That would also be supported by the DOT as well. Any access points would have to get approved by
Sure. Yeah, I was gonna mention your review. But you got it.
Okay. There's a couple things I just wanted to bring to the board's attention. You touched on a few of them. They're in our letter, but so these commercial sites, and you have your standards over here, like you're not modifying the setbacks from 332, which then leads to, all this unbuildable area. Do you have an interest in like making more of that buildable so that you could improve the property more, potentially create more usable square footage for improved area for commercial spaces and raise the assessed valuation of towns like that? And since you're going through this process where you can modify these standards anyways, just a thought, sort of planning board as well. And then you also have the roadway that showed right now, that it's shown in the buildable area that you're providing there, which then further eats up some of the land that you might otherwise develop. But can you move that roadway kind of back towards the back property lines and like share and be out of the buildable area of those lots.
Yep, we can look at that.
So we talked about walkability with the board, but it seemed like the focus is mostly on providing the infrastructure to walk, but not the network and connections to walk. So in my letter, so if you were living here and you wanted to go to dinner, so whatever ends up being there, you would walk here, you go around, right? And it ends up being, I think if I got here to 3,000 feet or something like that, but it's only, you know,
That's how you get your
a
steps
few
in.
hundred feet, right? So can you provide interconnections so that pedestrians from these places can walk to whatever those commercial spaces end up being?
Yep.
And then
Coffee
as
shop.
a manner of mitigating some of the traffic that might otherwise go through here, you know, if there's a vehicle
Coffee shop right
out
there.
here,
Go get your fruit.
potentially exit to the home.
Yep.
So providing that interconnection to make sure that it's truly walkable, not just walkable. And last up, so I mentioned a minute ago that this is one of the growth nodes that the town has shown. And I think you say in here that you're preserving like 70% of the land area, at least like within the multifamily component, that is like open space. I just pose it to you all in the town board. If this is a growth node, if you want to relieve development pressure elsewhere in the town, in the region, does it make sense to preserve 70% as what will end up being grass, or should you develop it more, provide more housing units to relieve the regional shortage of housing? So can you develop it more densely? Of course, you have to mitigate all the infrastructure, everything like that, stormwater. But does it make sense to, as long as you're going to develop it, turning that grass into housing?
Can you give an example of where to go?
Partly it might not need to be reconfigured, but this, I'm not sure.
How did
Where you
do
do
it up there?
Well, the other part of it is, all of these show the roadways right onto here. I'm not sure if that's what Jim would like, to where you're kind of backing on the side road, but if you turn them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Always, but more. But again, there's the other parts that bring more to surface area, but just a thought for the planning board's consideration for the town board.
So if you're doing 3 to 4 phases, are you starting at the Purdy Road side and working your way north?
The intent will be to start at the southern end of the project, yes.
Recreation. You have some open spaces, other than the community center, you're gonna include, anything else, Ryan, as far as recreational facilities for your new residents?
Yeah, we would work with the applicant to see what they'd like to see in their community, whether it's dog parks or, you know, sometimes people don't like pickleball courts because of the noise now. They were the rage, but not as much anymore. But you know, we have left these central islands of green space areas in the quads of the two between the private roads and the rear yards of the townhome units. So those are areas that we can look at, you know, exploring further, certainly.
I see you have like parking locations at certain pinch points there. For access into there, but are you gonna show like any kind of walk area to get to them, or just are we walking just over grass, or just it just seems like you would just put a walking area in there too?
Yeah, I think that would tie into whatever, if anything, or how it's proposed in the central areas. Obviously, if it's, you know, more or less like a field for soccer or whatever, you wouldn't have a sidewalk going directly to it.
Oh, no.
But if there was a
Between the
pickleball court or
houses.
something, you might have a path going to it. So
Yeah, like right
those
to
are things that will be worked out as we progress these plans further. So I guess just an overall opinion from the board. I haven't heard any like showstoppers or anything.
No, we owe the town board a report,
Mhm.
and I'll draft that based on our discussion. Also got some comments from our absent member, Mark said some, but most of the things we covered tonight. He did ask about having EV ready infrastructure, charging capacity as part of the development. If that could be factored in, maybe up the community center. Considering some charging stations. But that's the intent. We'll give the board a review and Arnold, his group will peruse it along with the review from MRB, and the county also did their recommendations. Their concerns were H2O capacity, the water capacity, looking for a traffic study and energy.
The chief of the town of Farmington met this morning to talk about the project, so I expect their comments are forthcoming.
This will all filter into the town board and they'll decide regarding the zoning, and if successful in the zoning, then you'll be back to us with a site plan.
That's the plan.
It's plan. You've been through it enough, you know. Board, if anything else, oh, residents, excuse me, anybody from, yeah, we want to hear from you. You were good enough to sit through the meeting. Who are you and where are you from?
My name is Jamie Jan Francesca and I live at 2112 Stablegate Drive. And is it okay to ask questions as well?
Yes, guys.
Yes. So, if I may.
Sure.
Look, did you mention at the beginning PEDs? Is that a term?
PUD.
Unit.
Okay. So PEDs are performance enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
Yes. I think yes, my directional sense is horrible too. My parents have studied that. This is Canandaigua Farmington Town Line Road. And we live on Stablegate. I believe that we're super duper close. We're the first, we're not in the cul-de-sac, so this is myself and then my neighbor Alex that's here is right here. Some of our questions, or mine anyway, is if this is what you're developing, right? Following through here.
Well, that's the border, the developing over.
In here.
Yeah.
And then like you're talking about the community group, warehouses and part of it is just like hopefully that's not storage of sanitizer, hand sanitizer, but just kidding. Is that, you know, if there are fields back here, what kind of lighting pollution we're going to have to our backyards? What kind of paths and traffic will be going through here? I know just for the board on Town Line Road, there is not a lot of good lighting through there. And over 8 years ago, a young boy was killed on this street as well. Because there's no sidewalks on our side. Coming out of Stablegate. So those are a couple of things that I think like for consideration. Also through here now from, I believe this was a temporary service road when they were building these. We're flooding back here now already. And I mean, like, truly right now, river water, it looks like, and it's rushing. It was dark. I was outside and you can hear it rushing through. We had not just this rain, but rain last year. So that is kind of a consideration for us as families in this area. Who has access and how much access do they have to our properties coming from this direction? And what kind of through roads be coming through? Where is Purdy connecting with? Farmington Town Line?
Right here.
Out to here. Yeah, so that was like I was saying, some of the light pollution this way, traffic and lighting in that direction. Access to the properties in this direction, because ours, we own some of the Forever Wild here. But there is a lot of ash borer in there as well that have already died to the backs of the properties. So I guess that was just a couple of the things that
Okay.
come up for our neighborhood.
What was your address again? Please.
I'm sorry.
Melanie, what was your address again?
Oh, 2112 Stablegate.
Well, thank you.
I'm the third property in from that first circle.
Yep, I see you here.
So.
Okay, well, we'll certainly take the applicants here and he'll take that into consideration and we'll consider. Not necessarily with the rezoning, but at the very least when the site plan comes before this board. Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir.
My name is Alex Pizark. I'm at 2104 Stablegate Drive. Just she handled it pretty good. One of the biggest questions is traffic. How is that going to change, and the noise and the lighting, and then the drainage? Like it's like a lazy river, like a river rapid. It's pretty intense. So if we get rid of some of that forever wild or land, what drainage is going to be in place, and is it going to be sufficient enough so that we don't sustain any damages? Like right now on the back of my property line, the water intrudes, I would say 20 feet in from the back property line. So my thought is if they're developing back there, it's probably, you could take that 20 feet or whatever, and now you shift it another 20 feet forward, possibly, give or take, if the drainage isn't, handled. And that would be, my shed would be underwater, and I'd lose a lot in my usable yard. So that's just,
I'm not familiar with the grading out there. Does this property drain to Stablegate, or does Stablegate drain to the property?
So,
or is there a
there are wetland pockets along the northwestern corner there. Sure. I think there's this the stream that we marked here too, so it's along the property.
It's the direction of flow.
It's temporary road.
What direction does it flow?
It flows, so it flows like, she's at, you're 2112. Yeah, she's at 2112. It comes down like this way, like,
Towards Canandaigua Farmington.
Yeah.
Goes south.
and goes south. And when it hits like her property,
But
it
it
will
runs,
pull up.
it runs south.
Yes. And when it hits her property, it pulls up, but like mine, it's like, at next rainstorm, I'll call you guys. It's like, it's literally like gushing, like it's running.
There's actually a contour right there where it pushes it toward you, which.
Yeah. And it's pretty thick.
Well, hopefully, when we get into site plan,
Thank you.
there's a possibility of somehow relieving that problem. And that's the other thing we didn't mention, there are buffering requirements around projects. So what doesn't exist there now would be supplemented with a new buffer in terms of landscaping and
That would be nice for sure. If there was definitely a buffer in mind too, I think that would go a long way with the people in there too. If there's a decent buffer and the traffic and the noise pollution and all that really taken into consideration. It'll change the landscape completely.
duly noted. Okay,
Depending on which way, if there's fields and things and there's lighting, depends on which direction those lighting is pointed towards, could be towards our properties. We don't have a lot of buffer back there.
well, nowadays in the town, we have strict requirements on dark sky compliant lighting. And whether it's freestanding lights or attached to a building, it's, pretty tough on that, so.
The
That won't
current
be a
design, as well as, when you're just gonna see. It's all back of the house, back of houses, back of townhouses. Where you'd see maybe a back porch light, like on any house. So there wouldn't be projecting lights or anything.
No. Well, that would be okay, but of course, if you're providing walking areas, is this walking area that people can walk right into our yards or backyards?
Okay, anything else you want me to add to the report? If not, Ryan, you got your marching orders?
Yeah, thank you for your input. We'll take this all into account.
Okay, Sarah, thanks for coming out. Good to see you again.
We wanna make it nice for the community, we've been at it for a few years now, so it's important to us, we wanna be good neighbors.
Okay, I will draw up a draft report, circulate it to the board, comments come back to me, don't do all in. Then I'll get it out to the town board. Your hearing's the 20th, it's coming up, right? No?
No, we're gonna push that, it'll go to the next meeting.
Okay.
You have to circulate it. I don't have time to get it on their agendas.
Okay, so I don't have to have it to you tomorrow. Okay. Enough.
I can't, I mean.
I won't.
Bob wants his actual place plan.
I can tell you.
Please.
All right. Thanks again, folks. Let's move on to our minutes.
Thank you for your time, everybody.
Thank you.
Oh, this gentleman was.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're hiding behind the podium. Speak now. Okay.
My name's Rod, 5795 Farmington Town Line Road. If you look on the map, I'm almost to the access driveway. I'm 1000% on board for this project. Especially the sidewalks. So right now we walk Town Line Road 332 to get to the ice cream shop. 2 little boys. No fun there. We usually take that little access road to get there now, so the sidewalk is awesome. The only concern I would have is hopefully possibility of looking to town sewer when it gets into that area. Because the clay and the drainage up through there, it goes south. Well, actually don't go south, it goes north to Town Line Road and across the street and into the.
So you're on,
Stoneheads.
you're on septic right now.
Yeah, the clay is awful, especially in the wet time of year. My property's up there.
That's you. Okay.
There's a retention pond, side of my property right now, and that seeps into the clay. We can't use. Our leach field is pretty saturated with all that water. I've been trying to tell for 7 years, so if we can tie into that somehow, that'd be awesome. That's the only 2 concerns I have.
Where do you tie into town sewer
So
theoretically?
the previous plans for the Pretty Road extension had the sewer coming out somewhere through here. And then going up this way.
But you wouldn't bring it all the way to Town Line Road. You'd stop at those last 2 houses or last 2 buildings.
I can't say that any where we would go.
But there's not a necessary connection.
To here.
Yeah. You're not creating them.
Thankfully, but these houses we would have sewer, so very actual, I'm gonna be able to do something.
We're happy to look at it.
Okay.
Rod's been wanting sewer.
7 years.
All right, last call, anybody? Okay, let's move on then. Minutes from our March 24th meeting. Do I have a motion? Okay, any further additions or corrections sent out? If not, second?
Second.
Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
Nice job, Curry.
Thanks for coming out, guys.
Oh.
You're welcome to come back anytime.
Hang on, we got.
I just noticed we had one. Diana, would you like to speak? Well, she had.
Hi.
Hi, Diana. You
I
have a
would
question?
Yeah, I just commented. I had the same concerns as the other 2 residents of Stablegate Drive, so I feel like they covered it. The lights are what I was really concerned about. Right now, when I look out my bathroom window on the 2nd floor, I can see lights coming from, I believe it's the Geneco warehouse. And I'm looking at that sketch map. I just see everything from my property to that, and it's just like overwhelming looking at how many buildings and, the traffic and the cars and the lights. So having that, I think you guys were talking about maybe having something kind of like a barrier in between would alleviate some of our concerns over here. And I just wanted to reiterate it's almost like flooding in the back of our house. We have a little hill that leads to the current stone area, and that little like stone, I don't know, it's like right behind all of those buildings back there. And the water just comes down and just rushes through all of our properties back here. So that was also one of my concerns.
Well, what was your address, Diana?
2102.
2102.
Okay, next to
So we have the 3 people who obviously are the big.
Okay.
There's a berm that pushes the water right to them.
I'm looking at it.
Well, we're certainly aware of your concerns and we'll consider those as we move forward.
Thank you.
Thanks for sitting in.
Of course. Bye.
All righty. Thanks, Ron. We have no surety releases.
Stable.
No special projects. I'll give you a report on the ordinance committee and the plan and public works at our next meeting, since we're running rather late this evening. Some concerns about one of those goes to see and those reflect themselves in you. Put all your comments in it. You know, the percentages almost common. Do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? Well, back. Since it's got your signature on it?
That's my signature.
Bring your autograph, put it all together and put your, everyone's, I can show you.
All right, you have that.
Oh, God, yes.
I
do.
I'm sure you were summoned.
Oh,
We are the boardroom now. So I'd like to present to you a certificate of appreciation and grateful recognition of your 5 years of dedication and service to the town of Canandaigua. You hereby present Amanda Van Lincoln with a certificate of appreciation awarded on the 20th day of April 2026. My signature. Hopefully.
Well deserved. Thanks, Don.
Wow, thank you all.
Yeah, I can send it to you. You got it?
Okay, anything else for the good of the board? Dan.
Actually, two things. Jay and I are heading off for training on Sunday for the Federal Planning Federation of Cooperstown, so that's exciting. And then the other one I just want to mention, because Tim, you had some great comments tonight. If you can get them to me early, then I can give them to the applicant so they can maybe have answers for you. So we can still cover it.
I've been in Florida.
Well, no, I get
last night, so.
Again, I offered that to the board. If you see stuff, you can get it to staff. We'll try to get those answers, or at least have them prepared to answer those questions.
Well,
Not necessary, he's not saying you have to, but.
No, it's an opportunity so that you might be able, if that was the only hangup, I would hate to push something another month. We could have got those answers for you, right? All I'm saying.
Has anyone attempted to have
Makes
what
sense.
his TN number was for the Diamond Acres one too?
You got the Genesee Finger Lakes. Is it still open? I'm still.
It's still open.
Till the middle of May, I think.
May.
No, it's the 28th, but I think the time to sign up, register.
Yeah,
I'll get it to you next week. Anything else? We've got some boot camp training. I think the next one's on solar batteries. Yep. So don't forget to get your training in. And I think that's it. So.
Motion to adjourn at 8:38.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I waited.